Every day, hundreds of massive oil tankers pass through a narrow strip of water between two coastlines. At its narrowest point, this passage is only a few kilometers wide, yet nearly a fifth of the world's oil moves through it. If this route were ever blocked, global energy markets would react within hours. Fuel prices would rise, supply chains would slow, entire economies would feel the shock. This is not a canal, not a city, not a pipeline. It is a natural gateway, one that quietly controls the flow of global trade. This is the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz lies between Iran to the north and Oman and the United Arab Emirates to the south. It connects the Persian Gulf to the open waters of the Indian Ocean. Every ship leaving the Gulf must pass through this narrow corridor before reaching global markets. On a world map, the strait appears almost insignificant. A thin line of water between vast land masses. But geography gives it extraordinary power. At its narrowest navigable point, shipping lanes are only a few kilometers wide in each direction. Tankers moving in opposite directions pass each other with little room for error. To the west lies the Persian Gulf, home to some of the largest oil reserves on Earth. To the east lies the open ocean, connecting energy supplies to Asia, Europe, and beyond. There is no easy alternative route, no canal, no shortcut. For global energy trade, this narrow passage is unavoidable. Oil-rich countries around the Persian Gulf share one geographic reality. Most of their energy exports are surrounded by land. Pipelines can carry only limited volumes, and building new routes across deserts and mountains is slow and expensive. For massive oil tankers, the sea remains the most efficient path. But geography offers only one exit. The Strait of Hormuz is the single maritime gateway connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. Every tanker leaving ports in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates must pass through this narrow corridor. There is no second passage, no hidden route around it. Even the world's largest energy producers depend on this single point on the map. In global trade, few places concentrate so much importance into such a small space. Every day, millions of barrels of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This energy does not stay in the Middle East. It travels across oceans to power factories, transport goods, and fuel entire economies. Countries in Asia depend heavily on these shipments. Europe relies on them to stabilize energy markets. Even nations far from the region feel the effects of disruptions. Oil prices are not determined only by supply and demand. They are shaped by geography and by the safety of critical routes like Hormuz. When tension rises in the region, markets react immediately. Prices move before a single ship changes course. Because the global economy runs on expectation as much as reality, a narrow waterway, thousands of kilometers away, can influence the cost of fuel, food, and transportation around the world. Despite its importance, the Strait of Hormuz is far from secure. passage is narrow, leaving ships with limited space to maneuver. Large tankers move slowly, making sudden changes almost impossible. Heavy traffic increases the risk of accidents. A single damaged vessel could disrupt movement for days. But geography is only part of the danger. The strait lies between countries with long-standing political tensions. Military patrols, surveillance vessels, and naval exercises are a constant presence. Even small incidents can create global uncertainty. Insurance costs rise. Shipping companies reconsider routes. Markets react instantly. The system works, but it depends on fragile stability. In a place this narrow, even minor disruptions can have global consequences. What would happen if the Strait of Hormuz suddenly closed? The effects would be felt almost immediately. Oil shipments would slow or stop, reducing global supply overnight. Energy markets would react within hours. Prices would rise long before shortages appeared. Countries heavily dependent on imported energy would face immediate pressure. Shipping routes would be forced to search for longer, more expensive alternatives. Transportation costs would increase. Manufacturing would slow. Global trade would begin to feel the strain. But the impact would not remain limited to oil. Higher energy prices affect food production, shipping, aviation, and everyday goods. A disruption in one narrow waterway could ripple through the entire global economy. Because modern economies depend on continuous flow, not interruption. And in a connected world, distance offers little protection from disruption. Despite the risks, the Strait of Hormuz remains open. The reason is simple: too many nations depend on it. Energy exporters rely on the strait to sell their resources. Importing countries depend on it to power their economies. Shipping companies depend on predictable routes. Closing the passage would harm nearly everyone involved. Because of this shared dependence, maintaining stability becomes a common interest. Naval patrols monitor the area. International shipping regulations coordinate traffic. Diplomatic pressure works quietly in the background. The system is not built on trust alone. It is built on mutual necessity. Every country involved understands the same reality. Disruption would carry consequences far beyond the region itself. The Strait of Hormuz reminds us of a simple truth. In a world shaped by technology and global markets, geography still matters. Satellites orbit the Earth. Digital networks connect continents instantly. Yet physical trade still depends on oceans, routes, and narrow passages. Some places gain importance not because of human decisions, but because of their position on the map. The Strait of Hormuz is one of those places. A natural gateway that quietly influences economies, politics, and daily life across the planet.